Would you consider yourself blacklisted from that station?
Oh, definitely.
Join Marco's club.
Definitely. I would consider you blacklisted from, the Community Foundation of Mendocino County.
Probably.
That's why I want to find
Because I asked him for $1,200.
I know. So why not? Other than, you were broadcasting the truth about the Community Foundation of Mendocino County.
I was a little bummed. I kind of didn't expect it because, I don't count my chickens till they're hatched, But then I realized that they award Mendocino County Public Broadcast $5,000, which is about 4 times.
Which doesn't appear in their Form 990s, by the way. They don't list
KZYX.
KZYX as a recipient.
Isn't listed on the Community Foundation or at KZYX?
On the Community Foundation. KZYX doesn't have to list, or they don't have to publish that listing of their grant makers. But the grant, I should say the grant maker.
Well, so that 5,000 that went to KZYX that's not reported would be in the yellow part of the graph.
Exactly.
All right, well now
it would be in the unreported part of the graph.
Which color is that? I thought that was yellow.
Well, I guess.
All right, yeah, let's look at it. So,
yeah, you're right. It's the yellow part of the graph.
So the yellow part, in 8 years, we know that 5,000 of what ends up being 11% is in the wash in the yellow part of the graph.
Yeah.
Okay.
So KZYX is going to be in here.
Well, they could have given us $1,200 and not reported it.
They could have given themselves $1,200. They could have had a big Coke fest. Who knows?
Pizza party. I don't know.
Whatever.
Okay.
That's why you report it. That's why the Sonoma Foundation is growing. That's why they can pay their employees.
I think at that grant workshop, I think one of my other comments, because I made like 3 or 4 comments. I think people were getting sick of me there too. I think one of my comments was like, Michelle, I'll buy you lunch if I can talk to you more about my grant application. That didn't go anywhere.
I remember meeting with them before I was on your show back 2 years ago. And my discussion with them, we met at the bakery in Mendocino, and I met with, it was Suzanne Nourgard and this Allende person.
Okay.
Right, the both of them. And what I was saying was that wouldn't it be nice if you guys could help nonprofits to raise more money by getting their Form 990s together, by getting their bylaws and their articles together? And they kind of reluctantly did that, but the feeling I got from them was, this guy is trouble.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I get it through the back channel, through Peter Reimler, they're telling everybody, ignore this Scott Peterson guy. Don't go near him. Nobody ever pays attention to this guy. Which is one way, that's pushback. That's a way to try to...
Well, I get some of that. Some people say that about you on the Fort Bragg Wellness page with 538 members, but I usually tell people there, and you'll see my comments occasionally where Scott does have hot links. If you don't like what's there, open up the links and just fact check it, because the fact checking of your you claim not to be a journalist but a storyteller.
That's all.
So in the story, if you think that there's a line of text that you disagree with, usually there's one word in blue that you can click, and automatically a web page opens up with a document that either has the quote from the person or a legal form
filed under penalty of perjury.
Yeah. Most of the time there's something like that attached to it.
I like that thing that you found in the Advocate, that full page ad in the Advocate.
Oh, geez.
Which is total malarkey. If you don't want fake news, you need it from a trusted news source, like the Advocate.
And the funny thing is how many people have huge basketball-sized afros on the Mendocino coast? Like, the demographic doesn't fit, and we have people of all different. We're pretty much mostly Spanish and Caucasian here, but there are African American people around here. But it's an African American woman looking at a smartphone with a great big hair. That doesn't look like anybody around here. She looks like, I'm from LA or something. And it's, do you trust your news source? How do you know? And it has little bullet points about it. And at the bottom, it says the Advocate and Beacon. And last week, or the week when I first saw it, and this isn't the free paper, not the paid paper, so I didn't pay for it. It shows up in my mailbox, and I always open it and flip through to go, okay, before it goes into the trash. I always flip through to see if there's I like to see what the bargain of the month at Coast Hardware is, to see if it's a tape measure I like, and I look at some stuff, and I see the entire back page. That's a lot of real estate. How much does it cost to buy an ad for the entire back page?
That's the beginning of the end. When the Advocate and the Beacon have to burn a full page or even a quarter page on an advertisement for themselves.
Yeah, and this week it is on a quarter page inset in the paper because thankfully Mendo Mill bought like a third of a page ad for the back, and then they had something about solar for renters, an article that spilled over on the back page, which is, I guess, informative.
You'd never see that in the New York Times. An ad for the New York Times in the New York Times.
How do you know if your news is real?
Yeah.
Check the source.
Oh, please.
Is social media reliable? Well, you know what? I can find cats doing backflips on Facebook, but I can also be objective, and I can also read Al Jazeera articles that really cut through our news in the United States.
Well, the ad has a point, and that's that trusted sources.
Sure.
It's not just what you read; it's where what you read comes from.
Too bad they didn't name any at the bottom of the article.
The Community Foundation was running a regular column in the Advocate and the Beacon for a time.
Okay.
Suzanne Norgard was writing these pieces, and then Megan Allende was writing pieces also. And that was before I found that they were, sending huge chunks of cash out of the county. I hope that they can, publish an editorial addressing the huge amounts of money that they're sending out of the county, so their donors know that they're sending huge chunks of cash out of the county and out of the state.
Well, I guess one way to figure out how much an entire back page on the Advocate would cost would be to ask the board at the hospital about their propaganda that they paid them to print. Say, hey, what was your rate? Or just ask them for the rate. It's interesting that the hospital board has been using like the Beacon, and I haven't read the articles because I don't typically pay to not be informed. I like to get my non-information for free. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I know it's
exactly.
75 cents, but if I'm going to spend $1, I'll pick up the AVA. I can pick up if I want to learn about events, the Coast Packet is free. That's got to hurt. The Coast Packet is riddled with ads. That's ad dollars in print, and it's a free paper.
I buy the
dig
the Mendocino Beacon for the same reason that I might buy a National Enquirer. If they had a local version of National Enquirer, I'd probably buy that before I would buy the Beacon.
They do. It's the AVA.
Well, that's true. I don't get the.
I mean,
get the
on
subscription
some
version.
level, occasionally,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I do like the subscription version of the AVA because that's the way to get Malcolm McDonald the fastest.
Okay.
And some interesting letters and some interesting articles because I think he's the only local reporter. I mean, Rex Gresset, of course, and occasionally Judy Valido.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm retiring this XP server and going to this Windows 10 box for my KNYO uploads. That computer was gifted to me by Judy. One time I said, anybody want to get rid of old computers? I want to convert them into servers for KNYO broadcasters.
By Judy
Valido.
Really?
So she pulled up at Rossi's and she gave me a computer and a monitor, and with no hard drive. She kept her hard drive, and I put a different hard drive in it.
She's a good soul.
Yeah, and she's a good egg, for calling people out at city council meetings and attending and watching.
I respect her work tremendously.
The funniest thing I've seen in media recently was watching the city council and all parties at the dais talk about marijuana policy and local regulations the other night. Hilarious. Just hilarious.
I missed that.
Because, you can say, should we limit it to 6 plants? And then for the next 20 minutes, they're talking about plant size, space, smell, and stuff. And I thought, 6 plants? Fine with me. I'll buy a house in town. And I'll make sure the pots are really, really big, and I grow them as big as freaking trees, and I'll fill my entire backyard with 6 plants. That's going to really piss off the code enforcement people when they come in and go, you're not out of compliance. That's only 6 plants. And I have a lot of questions, and I'm freaking out because I'm in my pajamas doing my radio production, the other night, and I'm watching the meeting, and I thought this was the one meeting where I should have jumped into the public comment. I really should have been downtown. Eric Dwyer was there. He spoke quite a few times, and he messaged me on Facebook and says, you should come to the next public safety meeting. So I'd like to know how the city wastewater treatment plant, let's say 20 new houses fire up with 12 light grows in their garage, and they don't know how many plants are in a grow. And I'm thinking 6 under each light, sometimes 8 depending on the rows. So 12 lights, 72 to 90 give or take plants. Now if they have drain trays, every time you harvest and you go and rinse out the containers, the drain trays lots of times have a thick, 1/8-inch layer of like calcium deposits from the nutrients and from the bone meal.
Right.
How does the city wastewater treatment plant take care of the new influx of calcium deposits that has to come through it? I don't know how much it would be on a full level, I don't really know.
Also, as the price of marijuana drops, the more the burden is on the infrastructure, because you're going to
Sure.
have to have more lights to generate more pounds, right?
Which means electric car sales are boom.
Right.
Because you got to get that good PG&E bill.
But still, I mean, you run more lights, you're running hotter.
Sure.
Are you then necessarily going to boost your panel, or just cheap out?
Oh, my phone's vibrating, but I'm not going to get it. Oh, it's a new text message, just in case if it's radio related. Nope, it's my old friend Jim Wagner. 45 minutes to an hour. I should tell him yes, but not at the moment. Hopefully he's tuned in. Now, this friend has been in radio since my KDAC days.
Jim Wagoner.
Not relation.
Right.
We used to walk our dogs down the train tracks and go out in the woods and hike a lot, with our dogs and talk radio. He would get off at the morning shift at like 9 or 10 after the swap shop program. We go walk the dogs. I go about my day, go mountain biking. Then I would go on the air from like 4 or 5 till sign off. All these years later, though, Hoot over at KUNK at the Skunk FM, broke his leg. He had a big injury. Right at the point where they fired Lindy Peters, then Hoot got hurt. And they were desperate for a morning man. So I got Jim Wagner to come over here. They got him a motel room and put him on the air for mornings for 3.5 weeks or something. So it was a temporary job.
Yeah, but that's good.
Yeah, it's cool. I wish I could get him more involved in local radio and stuff. But back to the marijuana thing, when it comes down to residential, there's a lot of points they missed, and some that I believe the council, before making any decisions, needs to continue the discussion. Even if people are like, we need a decision, continue it. Because to make a ill-informed decision could be catastrophic. Because, for one, if you want to regrade your sidewalk in town or expand your driveway, there's permits and issues. And as soon as you go to a grow, and if there's one person that's an employee that's not your living in the house family member there, doesn't the county code kick in where you have to have one ADA approved parking space and an ADA bathroom? That means now you got to remodel the inside of your house.
Hey, that's good for you.
Well,
That's
I guess
good for
so, but
builders,
I'm not a licensed contractor. I run around like a cowboy, getting in trouble all the time. But for the contracting community, that is a good thing for remodelers. But at the same time, let's say in 10 years, nobody wants to grow and these houses are up for sale. How many people want to have an ADA bathroom when all these homes are on the market now? Are we going to turn into a retirement community and all the retirees are going to buy into these homes that have the parking space, the ADA bathroom, and then they're all moldy in the garage?
Well, I think that homeowners are rethinking use as the price of marijuana drops.
I think so too.
Yeah. What I want to know is the rebranding of the dam of the mill pond as a beach berm.
Yeah.
I want to know more about that, because I saw George Reinhardt doing a thing at City Council.
Sure.
Calling a spade a diamond, right?
Okay.
And because that berm is what is holding back
The leaching
thousands of tons of
Okay.
dioxin-laden sludge.
Like the sludge from the washers from the smokestacks or something like that.
Yeah, dioxins and PCBs and
Sure.
what do they call it? TC, all the nasty stuff in the world.
THC.
Yeah, well, that's different. But calling it a beach berm just kind of minimizes its purpose.
Sure.
And it sort of helps GP out from walking away from this mess. So I object to that, and I think that from now on, somebody at City Council ought to say, whenever that's called a beach berm, somebody said, hey, wait a minute, objection, that's not it's called a dam,
Okay.
George. It's a dam, it's not a berm. It's
Sure.
there for a purpose. It's there to hold toxins in because you let GP walk away from this toxic waste mess.
It's
this
likely
Superfund
I'll
site.
see George Reinhardt at the Englewood Community Center because we have a musical potluck coming up on the 20th, which is, it's, I believe they might sell drinks there because Jim from Nello's Market tends the bar and, all proceeds go into the building fund for the hall. But it's a potluck, and we have like maybe 6 different musical acts. My wife and I are R&J Services business. We provide sound and lighting with our new modern sound system that's all portable. And then the next week on the 27th, we have a group that just named themselves Stable Genius.
Gotta love that.
Yeah, and it's Keter Stewart. His dad wrote like Ghost Riders in the Sky. He's got a heritage
kidding.
of music.
Wow.
And then Gene Parsons, who, of course, KOZT will tell you, our local's finest, even though he's from Southern California. He hates it when they say that. And my buddy Lee Ryder up north, who I just installed a solar array. Well, I had some guys do the roof rails and do the panel install, and I did all the inverter stuff for it. So it was interesting helping a client with solar. But it's kind of a country trio called Stable Genius is going to be playing on the 27th up there. We want to put a roof on that building at some point. And that's going to be like an expensive roof. There's some dry rot around the eaves, and who knows when you pull that old roof off how much plywood or skip sheeting has to be replaced. So
You want a capital campaign.
yeah, so we're doing one little potluck event at a time, to see if we can raise money, an angel investor. If this guy Peter doesn't want to invest in the community foundation, I know the Englewood Community Center will take his money.
I think, here's what I think. I think that if you want a grant, go to the Sonoma Community Foundation. Don't go to the Mendocino Community Foundation. They're worthless. Okay, they're not going to give you money. They're going to burn up your time. Okay, and then any money they get, God knows where it's going to go.
Maybe I should call them and have them email me the application. Just another trial balloon. Try my hand at
Go
grant
to
writing
the
again.
Sonoma Community Foundation because their grants go out of the area. Their grants go everywhere.
Yeah.
They've got money and they actually manage it well. They pay their people decently. One of the things that concerns me about the community foundation is that they don't even pay their managers. Like their $80,000 a year is not fair market for an executive director. It's like half of market what it should be. Pay peanuts, get monkeys.
For a nonprofit. That's interesting because our city manager, when you count all benefits, is over $200,000.
That's like the going rate for executive level people, good executive level people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Suzanne Norgard, who was there for 20 years, maybe 15, 20 years, she started out at $50,000 a year and she worked her way up to $100,000 a year and then retired.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not market rate for that position. It's way below market rate. So if these people actually started managing their own operation well, their own nonprofit well, they get paid more than they should.
The joy of a garage studio. I hear the door opening and closing out there.
I hear that
Hey, the
too.
dogs haven't ran in yet.
Hey, there's laundry running.
I know. Pretty much, it's at some point I'm going to put a nice little sound curtain over that. I might even just install. I'd like to put a sliding door, but I don't have the money. I need to apply for a personal